Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary. And y'all, we're going beyond today. Truly, we're going to get into the topic of star seeds, find out where you're from and what your purpose is here on Earth. And I have to tell you, I had an in-depth session with Matthew, and the places that I went, I had gone someplace similar to it in a meditation. But the detail that Matthew was able to bring in, that holding the space for it, really guiding the process and really extracting different information, not only not where I was from, but other places where I've landed and why, and maybe what the purpose was behind it. And it even took me down to the purpose here on Earth. So this is exciting. I am so happy to invite this conversation and this topic in, because once we know more of that, it ignites something within us, like a knowing or a permission or an empowerment. And it's just freaking amazing. So again, I'm excited. We are going to take live calls. So if you guys want to know where you're from, 1 or 2 minute readings, not what's happening in my life, but where am I from?
Yeah.
Unless you have questions about star seeds and things like that, if you guys want to add to my questions, not personally, but you're curious about what star seeds are, what different systems they made from, it's like, let's open up that as well. But again, this is going to be really interactive and we're going to dive in here. So Matthew John is an internationally recognized spiritual teacher, a spiritual mentor, an intuitive psychic medium, intuitive astrologer, starseed guide, energy healer, medical intuitive, life coach, working with angels, archangels, and ascended masters. By the way, my archangels that came in, I called them that because I didn't have a better word for it, but again, just so profound and such an acknowledgement. So he's a gifted intuitive, a wisdom channel, and a transmitter of healing frequency. So he's been doing this for about 12 years on his awakening journey. His powerful and effective teachings and healings are a product of many intense awakening experiences. I'm sure that y'all can relate to that. So he receives guidance, clear guidance from his guides, which he shares with his followers and clients all around the world. And he specializes in helping others to heal their childhood and past life traumas, reading people's life plans from a soul perspective. So again, he's here to serve. He's here on BTO, and let's take advantage of this time together. So again, if you're curious, if you want to interact, raise your hand. We'll get into live Q&A probably pretty quickly, because I want you guys to get an experience of what Matthew does, and also a special offer, which we'll go deep into. There's 3 offers actually, but there's 2 offers to dive deep into a one-on-one session with Matthew. Yeah. So again, this is phenomenal. With that, Matthew, welcome to Beyond the Ordinary Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super, super excited, and happy solstice.
Yeah. Oh, happy solstice. Yes. Well, we have to start there. What is up with the solstice energy, and what's that? Wonderful. What's that doing to awaken these awarenesses within us?
Well, of course, in the northern hemisphere, it's the summer solstice, longest day of the year. So it's a celebration of the culmination of everything you've done, everything that's happened to you to get you to where you are today. So today, tonight, tomorrow, whenever you're reminded of this, it's a time to take time to reflect on everything you've been through, where you've come from, and to appreciate everything you have. So it's about appreciating everything that you have in your life, in your experience of life right now, the family you have, the money you have, the things you have, the pets you have, and the love you have, really, most importantly. And so it's a celebration of the culmination. And then, of course, once the sun reaches its apex, we start heading towards winter. And in the southern hemisphere, this is the celebration of the return of the Sun King. This is the shortest day of the year. So on this day, we celebrate that from now on, we are building up into the summer solstice. So either way, the solstices are seen as a time of celebration, while the equinoxes are seen as a time of balancing.
And a celebration of where we are, where we've come from, and the acknowledgement along the journey. So that's wonderful. But let's get into the Starseed conversation, because I want to dive deep into that, because this is so intriguing. First of all, how do you know where someone's from? I mean, how can you, it's like, what gives us the audacity to think that we can tune into this and go, that's where I'm from? And and it's fascinating, right?
No, it's a really good question to ask. And, you know, we could say, well, what gives me the audacity to do any of the things that I do for clients? Totally. And these are gifts that have been kind of downloaded to me, and I'm just kind of a lucky carrier of these gifts, I suppose. But also, I've really worked hard to develop these skills into something tangible that I can present to the world to be of assistance to people, to teach people. I saw someone comment that they watched my videos today and they love them, learning about Starseeds, learning about the things I teach, and also to work with people one-on-one, which I still do, and to be able to bring them on a journey like I did with you to where they're from and to actually see it. So I guess the simple answer, how do I see it? For me, it's a clairvoyance. So for me, you know, you'll see people see me in action tonight when I do readings for people. I'm going to close my eyes and then I'm going to see, kind of almost like a map, like a star map. And I kind of over the years have gotten accustomed to, okay, this kind of looks like Sirius, feels like Sirius. This feels like, you know, the Bootes constellation, Arcturus. This feels like Andromeda Galaxy. This feels like a different galaxy a little bit farther away, etc. So I've kind of developed, just like it's similar. People ask me all the time how I do my medical intuitive work, and it's similar. Like, you know, I can see inside the physical body, but also I've developed specific ways specific to me of seeing things like, you know, bacteria and heavy metals, and I see like graphs in my mind. So as an intuitive, and this is something that I teach, and you know, and that special offer we'll talk about later, you know, one of my courses that's in there is how to develop what works specifically for you in whatever you're intending to gather as far as psychic or intuitive information. It should be something that's very personal. So that's the short story, but I guess.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Matthew. Now I have to ask you, it's, you know, we talk about starseeds. Is there assumption that everybody's a starseed, or
No, that's a fantastic question. My belief is no, but my belief is that it's far, far more people on this planet than we might think, and that most people might think. And actually, you know, years ago, especially when I first started figuring out that I was a starseed, I figured, you know, and just there really wasn't a whole lot of information. There were barely any books on it, you know, think back 10 years ago. And there's a little bit of information trickling around the internet. And I thought, wow, I'm like one of a very few select people on this planet that are starseeds. And then as time went on and I started meeting more and more, and I started seeing more and more videos and books about the topic. And eventually I really have come to the conclusion, I think about 40% of human beings are actually starseeds. And out of those 40%, it's just that 99% of those don't know it yet. And a lot of those people even will end up reincarnating before they might end up even becoming aware of that. Or, you know, we're in such a time of acceleration over the next couple decades, they might finally become aware of that. But, you know, as we know with the spiritual information, it tends to accelerate almost logarithmically in how it proliferates to the public. And so over the next decade, more and more people are going to discover this sort of information, discover that they are starseeds. But yeah, I think it's about 40%. I don't know, what have you ever thought about? What do you think?
I don't think everybody necessarily emanates from there, and it's just a sense that I get, a feeling, but there's definitely certain qualities that people carry, and from different systems. I had an experience years ago where I actually went through 3 different iterations of races that were within me, and I got to embody and feel the technical side, the empathic side, the more feline side of it, and it was very distinct. So that woke me up to believing and understanding that there's something more than what we're taught to say. And so that's extraordinary for me. And what I'd love to do is, a lot of people on the call may be familiar with starseeds. They may think they're from Pleiadians or Andromeda or these other things, but I'd love for you to give us a background of your understanding of some of the extraterrestrial races.
Absolutely.
And starseeds may come from.
Absolutely. And I just saw a comment from Carrie. So please clarify what it means if someone isn't a starseed. Where is their origin? So I'd love to answer that question first.
Great.
So the way I see it is that you are either a starseed or you're what we would call an earth seed. And there's only 2 possibilities. A starseed, you could be, your highest self could be a planetary consciousness, which we would refer to as a 6th density, could be a star system consciousness, which we would refer to as an 8th density, or it could be a galactic consciousness, which we would refer to as a 10th density. An earth seed is going to mean that your soul has actually originated here on this planet as a first density, what we would call an organic consciousness. And an organic consciousness really starts out as a single photon of light. That single photon of light splits into two. Those two photons of light actually go on their own journey, which is actually a certain type of twin flame journey that's specific to organic consciousnesses. But anyways, those two photons, now they'll start to build more photons around them, start to build a rotation until all of a sudden you're having what's called a toroidal field. So there's a empty column in the middle, and then there's these photons that are spinning more and more and starting to build a bigger and bigger field. And that correlates with more and more complex incarnations. So the least complex incarnation you could experience on Earth would be something like a microbial incarnation. And then from there, you can have more complex microbial incarnations. Then you can have plant incarnations, plant family incarnations, basically the consciousness of a whole group of plants, and then into the animal kingdom. And think about the difference between the complexity of incarnating as a mosquito, pretty simple, type of life, just going around and just, survival consciousness, versus a gorilla or a giraffe or an elephant or a pet, a family dog or a family cat. So as you go up, more and more complex brain structure, more and more complex life themes, that'll correlate with more and more of a larger photonic field or toroidal field. And eventually you'll become a human. That's the path of an earth seed or an organic consciousness, is through the first density, which is the microbial and plant kingdom, the second density, which is the animal kingdom, up to the third density, which is the human kingdom here on Earth. And then from there, whether you're a starseed or whether you're an earth seed, the next stop is the fourth and fifth densities. A starseed means you have already gone through that ascension process somewhere else. So somewhere else in creation, somewhere else in this universe, you started as a single photon of light. You went through whatever on some planet or some realm it was like to be microbial, plant, animal incarnations, all the way up to being some sort of third density incarnate, which could be humanoid, it could be an insectoid, it could be avianoid, it could be all sorts of different possibilities. But then you kept going, you kept ascending. And as we ascend, once we ascend past the third density, the fourth density and higher, we're starting to now merge. We're starting to now merge all the individual consciousnesses into a collective. And that's actually what's happening here on Earth, is all of us individual third density beings, those of us that are on the awakening path, we're starting to become more and more consciously aware of the fact that we're living in a collective, we're living in a field where we're all connected together, and we're becoming conscious of things like the health of the planet, things like how we connect with other people. Are we opening our hearts? Are we allowing love in? Are we allowing ourselves to give and receive love? And those are signs of starting to merge up to the fourth density, which is unity consciousness. And then from there goes the fifth density, which is basically a holographic experience of being an individual. And then a sixth density is a holographic experience of all these individuals now merged into one planetary consciousness. From the sixth density or higher, you now have enough photonic light. Imagine how much light a planetary consciousness, billions of beings that ascended all into being one consciousness, now operating both as one and as individuals when they desire, just for play. Imagine how much energy, how much light that would carry. And then from that point or higher, then you can do what's called fractalize, which you basically create a miniature soul. You create a miniature field, a toroidal field, and eject that field, send that field somewhere else, and you can place it anywhere you'd like in time or space. And that's how we got to Earth. We imagine we were basically looking at a holographic brochure of all these possibilities from wherever we come from, and Earth happens to be one of the places. And Earth is a pretty interesting, fascinating place. We see the history of the world wars and the Roman Empire and the time of Jesus Christ and the crucifixion and mass religion and the reptilians and all this stuff. And we're like, wow, what an interesting game that would be to play. I want to go there. Send me there. So you basically eject a piece of self, send that piece of self into the astral realm of the Earth, into the astral plane. And now, just like any being, that is between lifetimes, you now have the ability to create incarnations. And you create a cycle of physical incarnations. You go in, you come out, you go in, you come out, you build up a lot of karma. Then you have to be able to settle that karma somehow. And you keep going with that karmic cycle until you've done enough creating and settling karma. And it's time for you to actually consciously ascend. And now it's basically like a boomerang. You sent yourself out into a lower density or dimension. And now the idea is that you're coming back. So eventually we're returning to whence we came, but we're doing it consciously at not really realizing, especially when we're in the physical body, not in the between life space. When we're in the physical body, we're now consciously having to figure out how to do that, which is what you and I and everyone on this call is doing. And eventually, someday we'll merge back with whence we came. And of course, there's so many other aspects of self when, we'll talk about like what you went through. There were a lot of places you've been and a lot of pieces of you in different places. I just always like to, point out, if you're interested in the explanation I gave, it's really adapted from this wonderful work called, from Todd R. Devine called Expansion for Ascending Consciousness. And he's one of the most wonderful men and the most impactful men in the world to me. So I always like, giving people the name of his book when I can. If you really want to dig into the quantum physics of ascension, the quantum physics of how you fractalize, I was looking for years to be able to describe it like logically, left brain, and his books gave me that gateway finally, and I've really adapted that.
What's been cool for me is having a direct experience into the awakening of various forms of consciousness through different iterations of places where I was taken, whether I was conscious or not, either in dream state, and places where I had to pass out in a meditation or even just spontaneously. And there was an aspect of me that was aware that as a Christ consciousness was awakening in me, that crystalline energy was awakening, that there's also, after that heart space opened up, that this galactic awareness started to come in.
Yeah.
And I started feeling the merging of those fields, because they are quite distinctly different. And one's not better than the other, but what we're doing here is the awakening of the fullness of all of that. So I would equate one of it to be a little more logical, mental, not that all places in the Starseeds are necessarily logical and mental, but from the perspective here on Earth, it carries that technology with it. And here on Earth, through the Earth seed and what we're awakening within, it's that empathic, the heart base, expanding that. And we're each doing our part, whether you're Starseed or Earth seed, to come to the fullness and the reminder and the awakening of that exists in all of us as a whole. And I think that's really what's causing this huge planetary shift, and why we're able to have these types of conversations and go, well, of course, that makes sense now.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, you were pretty under, I got you into a pretty deep trance, but what you just said there was pretty similar to actually what you had channeled through on our session. And I don't know if you remember, so if it's okay, if
I remember all of it, and
okay,
please share.
good.
Absolutely.
I've only come across a handful of people. I've been doing these sessions for years, where if we go all the way back, it really is pretty clear that you're a galactic consciousness. And like you said, it doesn't mean you're better. It's not something where we're comparing frequencies or anything like that, because you're here as John Burgos. I'm here as Matthew. Right. Everyone's here as the human, right? But your history does go a little bit farther back than most people's. And it's a really amazing thing, especially when we get into a space like where we were, where you're under hypnosis and you went there and you really, and I felt it too, when I do these Starseed sessions with people, and I know a lot of people that are watching this are going to end up doing a session with me one-on-one. It's an awesome thing.
It really is. Yeah.
I feel where you're at, and I see a lot of what the person is seeing. And I could absolutely feel when you started kind of where you were there. It's hard to describe in words, but when you were there, like at the galactic center of whatever galaxy you are or you come from, like when you were in there, it's something it's hard to describe in words, at least for
Mm.
me. It's so big, it's so expansive, right? It's so lacking anything. It's so complete.
Yeah,
At least that was my experience kind of through you.
mine too. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. But what also happened, this was such beautiful confirmation of readings that I've had before, of Akashic readings and getting readings from other places. And
Yeah.
just even a few weeks ago, I was taken into the origins of the seraphim. I was taken
Oh, nice.
into a galactic origin. So the
Wow. Yeah.
conversations and how it keeps reoccurring that the same knowledge is being passed through
Yeah.
for the reminder of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, it really points that there's something very unique to this. Why do we need to know this, Matthew?
Oh, and it's so funny. Do you remember you said, well, like, okay, great. Well, like, what do I
What's
do
the
with it?
purpose? Right.
What? Right, right. And it's so funny. Like I know you want me to present my opinion, but it's so
I
funny.
do.
You kind of answered the question yourself like 5 minutes ago. It was a great explanation, really, of why it's important. Because ultimately, what we have to do if we're ascending here is it's about opening the heart in all ways. It is.
Mm,
And when we know for sure that our true nature isn't just this flesh and bones human being, and it's okay, we know most of us realize we have a soul, but it actually goes way, way higher than that, actually. And to that we're actually might be the consciousness of an entire planet somewhere in this galaxy or an entire star system or even an entire galaxy somewhere. It is such an expansive feeling. And when you experience it, and I'm not going to say that doing this through me is the only way to experience, go in meditation, experience it. But it's really easy to experience it when you do the Starseed session with me, because I'm leading you and I've been doing this for years. And it's my favorite thing that I do in all of my work that I
you
do.
took
And I
me
do
to
a lot.
places that I've been before and reminded me, and it got
Yeah.
activated even further. So it's, again,
So,
great confirmation.
so just that confirmation and that experiential uh, experience, the five senses, even though you're in hypnosis, it really feels like a sensory experience of being there. And it just helps you to remember that you're so much bigger and so much more than just the flesh and bones human with the name on your driver's license. You're so much more, and you're here for such a bigger purpose as well, because it's so easy to get lost in this game or this matrix, especially if, the news is just always awful. There's always something awful to focus on out there in the world. And when we focus more on what's going on, we tend to feel more trapped and actually purposeless. Like, what is the point of even being here? We're just kind of in this prison planet, so to speak. But then when we actually remember and get that 100% confirmation that we're so much bigger because we come from the stars and we came here intentionally. That's the other thing, because a lot of star seeds, I hear it all the time. People joke about it, and also sometimes people are kind of serious about it. They're like, I didn't want to come here and I would never come back here. Once I leave this planet, I'm never coming back. But really, the reality is the part of you that made that decision, which is a part of you that you can access during meditation, you can access during regression or dream state, or just, you're not going to be accessing it, usually in your waking consciousness, that really deep part of self that actually came from the stars, absolutely wanted to come here for a very specific purpose. And one of the cool things is that during the Starseed discovery sessions that I do, I really make sure before, we end the regression, that we have a clear sense for people of what their purpose is. And for a lot of people, it's interesting. They actually find out that one of the reasons that they're here is they're actually transmitting information
Mm,
back to their home planet. So people that might come from a sixth density collective, so they're coming from a collective of extraterrestrials. They're here, and while they're here, their collective is viewing this experience through them and keeping tabs on what's going on here on Earth, because Earth is actually pretty important to the whole context of the galaxy, because this planet is in such a low density. It really needs to accelerate its ascension, or else we have major problems, not just here, but in the entire galaxy, because there needs to be a balance maintained in the galaxy. And if one planet falls too far behind in its ascension process, it actually throws the whole, think of the galaxy as its own body, because it really is. And each star system is an organ, you know, and each planet is a cell. And if one planet's falling behind, it causes problems. So the Earth is very important in the context of really the entire universe. And that's, so a lot of people find out that they're here kind of, you know, seeing, their collective is seeing through them what's going on. And a lot of people figure out that they really had a specific purpose to contribute, a specific contribution to the awakening process on Earth. For example, they're supposed to teach something very specific. For example, they're supposed to learn a very specific technique, whether it's energy healing or whether it's you know, some sort of psychic or mediumship ability, telepathic ability, whatever. They're supposed to learn something very specific to be able to assist others with and to accelerate their own ascension. Or they find out that they're here to, you know, be a grid worker. They're here to walk in and help free trapped souls. And there's so many possibilities, but we really, as Starseed souls, wherever we come from, we had a plan in mind. We wanted to, usually, most of us, we wanted to experience the reincarnation cycle on this planet a lot. And then like that, a switch gets turned on, boom. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in our ascent. I remember, I don't know if other people on this call can relate, or you, John, you know, me, I know a lot of people that are teachers in this new age community, they were really, you know, psychic. They were really in tune. They were seeing spirits when they were 4 and 5. I really wasn't like that. I was a pretty normal kid growing up until I got into my 20s, and just boom, it was like a switch. I remember the day when the switch got turned on. I saw 12:12 on the clock, and I felt something change in me. I didn't know what it was. And it was like this switch got turned on. And from then, my entire life completely changed. And just things I never could have planned on happened. And it led me down this path of where I am now, that I never could have seen any of this coming, right? So at a certain point, our Starseed soul wants that to happen. And then there's a specific contribution. So the type of teachings and the type of work that I'm doing, this is part of my specific contribution. And you as a galactic soul, not just the galactic soul, but also as a soul that has been, you know, has lived lifetimes in the Lyran realms, for example, right? There's a specific vibration of the Lyran realms that obviously you're meant to bring here to this ascension process, right? And also, you know, both of us were in Lemurian times as incarnates here on Earth, right? And there, and I know you Atlantis as well. And so there's specific facets of those experiences that we wanted to bring to this awakening time, you know, in the 21st century. So there's a plan from a part of you that from way out here that you wanted to implement here on Earth, and we find that out in the sessions usually.
It's exciting. It's really exciting what comes through, and where there's doubt about where we're going and what's happening in the collective, you'll find, oh my God, maybe I'll share with you guys what I got at the end of it, because it tells me just how perfectly we're doing what we came here to do. And it's got a little twist to it. So it's not like, oh my God, everything's Shangri-La, but yet it is. But again, we're doing it so perfectly, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and we forget that. And that's so appropriate for tonight on the solstice, actually, is to remember that we are exactly where we need to be. We just rarely believe it. You know, most of us rarely believe it, because that's the ego mind. That's the ego consciousness. Always wants to believe that we're doing something wrong or that we're off track, but really we're right on track, whether we know it or not.
I love it. I love what's coming through on this. So Matthew, I want to get into readings here in a little bit,
sure.
but we need to ask a couple of questions. First of all, is what are some of the typical traits that make someone think that they're a starseed?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Really, you know, it seems pretty obvious, but really having an affinity for stargazing and for looking at the stars. I mean, even when I was a kid, before, you know, I was just an atheist, and before I got into any of this stuff, I was absolutely fascinated with just going outside at night and looking at the stars. and actually wondering, I do remember even when I was a teenager, just thinking like, oh, what if I'm actually an alien or something, right? So that's one pretty basic thing. Having an openness to any of the stuff that we talk about on shows like Beyond the Ordinary, what we're talking about, the paranormal, the the sixth sense sort of stuff. The reason being is because as starseeds, where we come from, we've mastered these skills somewhere else to an extent way farther than we may even do in this lifetime here on this planet, just because there's such a density on this planet. It's a lot more difficult. It's possible. I mean, I saw a YouTube video of an African shaman levitating over a fire, right? Okay. So it's certainly possible, but it's harder here. But we've done it so many times in so many different incarnations elsewhere on so many different other planets and even in other galaxies, maybe. So when we have an affinity towards that, it's a typical sign of being a starseed. It's not 100% sure, because the thing is although the starseeds are leading the way forward, as starseeds, we're pushing the envelope of consciousness forward on this planet. And as we're doing that, the earth seeds, or the organic consciousnesses, some of them are actually starting to join in. And it's like in my my career, what I do, most of the people have been starseeds over the past decade, but there have been a handful. There have been like probably 5 to 10 earth seeds, and most of those have been in the last 2 years, actually. So I'm starting to see more and more that are actually starting to join the star seeds. But generally, if you have an inch and all that stuff, you're probably a starseed, because the star seeds are at the head of the line. Now, depending on where you're from, there's going to be different specific traits. For example, the Lyran consciousness. The Lyrans are people who share a lot of, well, first of all, there's the Lyrans that look like humans. Then there's also the Lyrans that look like cats or look like lions. So if you're a Lyran, you may have an affinity with cats, you may have an affinity with feline animals, but Lyrans are very much into things like travel and celebration and really experiencing the fruits, both literal and metaphorical, of the earth, experiencing all that the physical realm has to offer. Because the Lyrans are there's different groups, but they tend to all be really interested in the physical world, where other species like the Arcturians, for example, aren't as interested in the physical world and are more interested in the mental and the astral worlds. Like, for example, Arcturian starseeds tend to be really, really cerebral, usually really good at things like math, science, architecture, new ways of like farming, anything that's really innovative. The Arcturian starseeds are the people that are creating like the scalar technologies and the new earth energy technologies that, of course, there's a lot of pressure from other places to stop this stuff, but eventually it's all going to break through. It has to. Those are the Arcturian starseeds, are very cerebral, math and science. The Sirian starseeds, like myself being a Sirian, the color blue, we are attracted to the color blue. We're attracted to the ocean. We love the ocean. We love dolphins. We love whales. We love crystals. We love working with crystals as Sirian starseeds, because on the Sirian planets, on the land planets, there's just all these giant caverns of quartz crystals everywhere, and you can go underground and you can sleep in these crystal caverns. And then the water planets, there's underwater crystal caverns, all sorts of stuff. So those are the Sirians. The Pleiadians embody the divine feminine energy, and Pleiadian starseeds are very much into things like art and the divine, expressions of the divine feminine, relationships, romance, divine sexuality, things like that are kind of more in the realm of the Pleiadians. And there's so many possibilities. Andromeda, both of us have experience in the Andromeda galaxy. The metaphor for the Andromeda galaxy is it's the sister galaxy to the Milky Way, and actually the Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy are like very, very, very slowly, day by day, getting closer to one another, and billions of years are going to combine into a super galaxy, which is actually a step up for the on the ascension ladder for the galactic consciousness of the Milky Way and the galactic consciousness of the Andromeda Galaxy. Because okay, once you're a galaxy, it's like, where can you go from there? Well, you can combine now, because that's what ascension is. Ascension is more and more conglomeration and combining. So now you can combine two galaxies into one and become a super galaxy. And our scientists can see that happening. But the Andromeda Galaxy is like the big sister galaxy of the Milky Way. And so many starseeds actually originally come from the Andromeda Galaxy, including, I believe, myself. And because of that, the metaphor is that we're like looking up from like a platform or a stage down onto the Milky Way galaxy, and thus we can see everything that's happening. And so Andromedan starseeds like myself tend to, and you as well, tend to have a really, have an affinity for like seeing patterns, for seeing the big picture, like taking a bird's eye view of things and you know, looking at things going on in the world, be like, oh, well, this fits into this and this fits into this, putting the puzzle pieces together. So those are just a few examples. But what's cool is once you do my Starseed discovery session, and I'll be able to tell you for sure, because you know, I'm going to lead you on an astral journey to your home planet or place of origin. And then not only that, you know, and I'll be there with you as a guide, but also, you know, after that, at the end of the call, I'll also just tune in using my clairvoyance and see if there's anywhere else that we missed. And I'll try to put together for you kind of like a family tree, so to speak, of your soul's galactic origins. You're originally from here, and then you fractalized and you went here and here and here, and then you got here to Earth. So you really understand. And once you know that, you know, it's cool. You start to look up, okay, you know, Lyran starseed traits and Andromeda starseed traits. Oh my God, that's so me. And then you start to meet others, which is really cool. I like anytime I get a Syrian, a client that's a Syrian starseed, like there's just an ease of communication. There's a sense of knowingness because ultimately we're both Syrian, and it's such a cool thing to do because like almost no one knows about this stuff, but yet, as I said, like 40% of people actually are starseeds, and you'll start to realize that the people that you really get along with the best, a lot of times they're from a similar place in the galaxy, or outside.
And again, what Matthew's alluding to is that we can be from more than one place and have recollections of different places where we've landed. And so, okay, I have affinity for being from Andromeda, and I can feel that, and for the Lyrian star system. But there's also these other places. Again, there's these places that I went into the galaxy. It's like, oh, that seems too far out there, really. And again, I've had readings like that before. So again, the confirmation and the activation that comes in from the awareness of wholeness.
Yes.
Is remember,
you're getting such a more complete picture of who you are. I love also another part of my work, which we won't talk about today, but I do past life regressions, and I help people get an understanding of who they are more completely by knowing who they were on Earth. And then this is another piece, knowing who you are or who you were in the stars, and you just start to get a more complete understanding of who you are and why you're here. And it, you know, a purposeful life is a life well lived. It's a life where you're excited to live. And when you feel purposeless, it's the opposite. You don't feel like there's a reason for being here other than survival or pleasures sometimes. But just feeling a deeper sense of purpose, there's no substitute for it, really. And knowing where you're help that. Really.
And as we're activating these energies, as we are attuning to vibrational accord, that it's opening up a grander scale of awareness, it makes more sense that we're connecting to these aspects of us that we were dormant to before. So this is great. The timeliness of this is just so perfect, because as we accept those parts of ourselves, and again, when I went to Lyra, it's like I was in this aspect of Matthew, and I said, okay, this is great and it's beautiful and it's all this, but there's also a penal system. There's also other Lyrians that are coming in. It's like they kind of want to manipulate also. And so my awareness of that was like,
that was interesting, because I actually I wasn't aware of that before. And I've heard things like, okay, in the Syrian star systems, there's actually dark extraterrestrials like around Sirius B. And originally I didn't really believe it, but now I actually kind of do. And okay, I guess in the Lyran star system, perhaps there are as well.
Perhaps that was my recollection of the regression, and maybe that bled over for something else, right? But
I believe it.
But how wonderful that this is all awakening within us and then we get to have relationship with it and it gets to expand. So Matthew, I want to get into readings.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Okay, so you can ask where you're from, or if you have a particular question about Starseeds that would help the whole audience, then we'll take that also. But
absolutely,
let's stay away from asking about health, finances, relationship, and things like that. Let's just get right to the meat of it. And then when you guys have your one-on-one session with Matthew, which by the way, there's a limited amount of one-on-one sessions. I think there's 35 of package B and 15 of package C. So if y'all are interested, you may want to go ahead and open up the link. April, put it in the chat box.
Yeah.
And in a few minutes, we'll go through the special offer in more detail. All right, let's go to our first person. And how about we start with Char? Welcome. Char. And if you can unmute yourself, please. You'll find your unmute button on your computer. And so when I call on you, it's just we're on it.
Oh, there we go.
Hi.
Okay.
Char.
Hi. Yes, Char. Okay. Hi.
Where are you from? Is that what you want to know?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Let's go.
All right, Char. I'm going to make sure I can still see on my Zoom panel here.
And welcome, Char. It's wonderful to feel you on here, by the way.
Yes, thank you. All right. So just give me a moment. I'm just going to close my eyes and gotta tune into your specific frequency.
And y'all, I'm gonna be on it. We're gonna go through a lot of these. So if I'm
right.
a little efficient today, just know it's out of love.
All right. So Orion's belt for sure, but let me see if there's anywhere else.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah. And I know, John, you and I talked about, because we both have had experienced incarnations there. Let's see if I feel anything else though. That's the main kind of hub I see. Let's see what else. I get a mantis extraterrestrial vibe too. I'm not sure which. Well, let's see. Let me see if I can see. Hold on. So the mantis extraterrestrials, by the way, they're the ones that look like praying mantises. They're giant. They're like 9 to 12 feet tall, right? And they're beautiful beings. They play. They kind of use their wings like a violin. And I've had like 4 clients over the years in their regression go there, and they all see they've seen something similar where it's like they live in these really beautiful earthy huts, and they just kind of sing and play music all the time. They live in a very timeless present state, and they just play music. And there were these ponds, and in the ponds they could see the holograms of different planets like Earth throughout the Milky Way, and they were just sending energy vibrations out for different purposes through music, through sound. So they're really masters of sound, even though they look kind of funny. One thing about mantis starseeds is they tend to really never feel totally comfortable in their Earth body on Earth. And a lot of times they've always felt like they can be tough to look at themselves in the mirror, or they might have got made fun of in school. They might have had something that about them that was hard to accept about their body, or they just always felt like they were so much bigger in their body than they actually are, or so much different. Like just being in the humanoid form is very, it's very different. So Char, my best guess, what I'm seeing, what I'm being shown is that I think your highest self is a mantis. I think one of the mantis planets, one of the planetary collectives of the mantis. But I think you've had so many incarnations as a humanoid in Orion's belt. And Orion's belt, of course, for those that don't know, where this is the home of the Orion Wars. And the Orion Wars is part of the darker history of our Milky Way galaxy, where dark, negatively oriented reptilian type beings, draconian beings, just went around and just blew up a bunch of planets and took over a bunch of peaceful humanoid civilizations. And those of us that are starseeds that carry that history of being there. Some of us fought in the Orion Wars as, you know, like in a star cruiser. Some of us were just there and saw the destruction of other planets. Some of us had our planet obliterated and our souls were taken to, sometimes to the solar system, sometimes to a place like Venus or Mars even, or even Earth. But we feel this, on some level, this fascination with trying to understand why the negative consciousness of Earth does what it does, why the reptilians do what they do here and in other parts of our galaxy, because we were subject to it in some part of our history. We were in those wars, and also a deep feeling of like, okay, being kind of cavaliers and freedom fighters, that we need to make sure it doesn't happen to our planet now in the 21st century here, that we're going to change the timelines here, so, you know, our planet becomes freed. But yeah, long story short, I feel Mantis and I feel Orion for you, and those are both such beautiful, beautiful places in the stars. And I believe they're both in our galaxy. I think there's Mantis beings in many different galaxies, but I get a sense of you being native to the Milky Way.
So, Shar, thank you so much. I'm going to ask Matthew a question for you and for everybody else in this call. And so what does Shar do with this?
Well, yeah, the $1 million question.
Right,
well,
Shar, what do you do with this? Okay.
I think, well, hopefully, Shar, it helps you to understand yourself better as to why you've always felt a certain way. Okay, you were nodding your head when I was saying, you know, never really feeling totally comfortable in your body, you know. What is your relationship with sound and music, right? Okay, and then how can you...
That's my happiest place.
There you go.
There you go.
Making music.
Right.
And I've written songs about participating in those wars and
Whoa!
sending
Oh,
energy.
amazing.
I'm vibrating.
Seriously.
Oh my God.
And I've written poems about Orion.
Whoa!
It's literally, you're like so on the money. And I had no idea. I thought Pleiadian. So this is amazing and
Yeah,
very,
I love
very
it.
right on to me.
So, okay, so that confirmation, and then, you know, continue on with making music and making sound and expand it
Really,
so much more.
All right, Shar.
totally.
Get a reading.
Thank
Y'all
you.
go deeper. I want to get some
Thank
more
you.
calls. This is so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And do
Thank
a
you.
Starseed session. We'll actually take you there, and you can actually experience it, you know, through.
All right.
Through
That would
cool.
be so
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you, lovely.
Cheers.
All right, Tara Fries, let's go to you now. Welcome.
Hi, Tara.
Hi. Well, this is exciting.
Yes, thank you.
Where am I from?
joining. Where are you from? Okay,
I think I know, but
All right, okay, all right. Well, let's see what
I have a feeling.
I have a feeling too already, but let's see. I get such a Syrian vibe from you. But let me see if I see anywhere else. I definitely get the sense that if we keep tracing back, your highest self is from the Andromeda Galaxy. And then from the Andromeda Galaxy, I get a sense, definitely Sirius, I'm 100% sure, but also I see Nordic beings. I'm not sure if they're Pleiadian, or I think you may have some Pleiadian, but I think there may also be some other type of Nordic beings. And there's many, many stars that have different tall Nordic looking beings. And I can see some incarnations with there. That's what I'm feeling. But it, you know, Tara, what have you come to believe?
Lyra.
Lyra. Okay. I mean,
Always attracted to, you know,
okay.
Yeah, lion.
I can see Lyra too. Yeah.
Matthew, I want to ask you, when we get into some of these star energies, and I'm curious about this, Tara, and for everybody on the call, we could have an affiliation with certain star seeds also with past life incarnations. For example, I see Tara very much incarnated perhaps from Egypt, and from that place as well. And those particular places that are high resonance for those star systems can also invoke a feeling of being from those stargates.
It can. Yes, it can. Usually, though, I would say if people have a very strong feeling of being from a place, it's probably right. And what about Sirius, though? Have you ever had a feeling of Sirius, Tara?
What? No,
No?
no, not really. But definitely I've had past life in Egypt.
Okay. Yeah, and I can feel that for sure as John does, but at least, you know, and I could be wrong, just doing my best here, but my inclination is that Andromedan for sure, Syrian for sure, Lyran, yeah, absolutely. I wasn't seeing it at first. And also some sort of tall, white extraterrestrial being I'm seeing somewhere. It doesn't seem like the Pleiades. It seems like a little bit off, more towards the Cassiopeian star system. But most Andromedan starseeds have multiple types that you have been incarnated as here in the Milky Way. So, you know, and maybe, you know, and of course, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Whatever, you know, feels right to you is right. But it may be that you first became aware of your Lyran consciousness, and perhaps this can be a gateway for you to start to explore the possibilities of that there may be others, that there may also be Syrian, there may also be sort of Cassiopeian or tall white, and also the Andromedan consciousness. And that's usually that happens really commonly, John, and everyone, like when people come on to do the Starseed sessions with me, they might be aware already of one aspect of themselves. They might be like, okay, this reader told me I'm Pleiadian. I've always felt Pleiadian. But then we do the session, we find out, okay, yes, but you were also Syrian. You were also from Orion's belt, and you're also from the Andromeda galaxy if we go way, way back. Myself, as an example, the first awareness for myself as a starseed was as a Syrian, and this was like a decade ago. And that's really, I thought that was all there was to me. I thought, okay, I'm a Syrian starseed, and that kind of became a cool new piece of my identity. And then the more I started reading about Andromedan starseeds, I started realizing this has to be me as well. And then I had astral experiences taking me to the Andromeda galaxy.
Right.
That second piece. And then I had astral experiences, meditations that took me to the Orion Wars and took me to remembering lifetimes I had in the Orion Wars. And I knew for sure, okay, there's a piece of me that was in Orion's belt. And then the last piece that actually came in just like 3 or 4 years ago was the Blue Avian piece, where I never realized why my whole life I've been so obsessed with birds. There's paintings of birds all around my house. I have bird feeders. I love just sitting outside and watching birds. And I had a visitation from a Blue Avian extraterrestrial in an astral experience. And I realized that that's also part of me as well. And who knows, there could be other places that I've incarnated that I don't know about yet. So I guess the point being is, Tara, yeah, if you feel you're Lyran and you have all the traits of Lyran starseeds, 100%, absolutely, I agree with you. But perhaps I was meant to see some other aspects.
Not perhaps. Actually, I'm sure of it, and I'll tell you why. Because that's ready to be activated within you. And I'll just share that. That's why I was excited to have this call on here. And those of y'all who are resonating to this, that's ready to be activated. It just is. I've had personal experience with that where I wasn't resonating with the galactic, and all of a sudden it came online. And I had Syrian, I had Lyrian, I had Andromedan, I had Arcturian. It was like one after the other, and having the embodied experience of being in a human, but picking up on those energies was profound. And it shifted something in me profoundly. And I truly believe that if y'all are on this call, resonating with this, if you're new to Matthew, he's providing an access to a consciousness that you're just ready to have a relationship with. And so it's absolutely amazing.
And I guess
I've always believed we were more.
Yeah. And
I've woken up in the morning and just with the idea, oh, they're here, like.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into the next caller. I want to take more readings, Tara.
Absolutely.
So go into this. Yeah.
While we're bringing the next person on, I was just going to say what you say makes perfect sense to me as well, because we know what we know, but that's only always one piece to a larger puzzle.
Mhm.
And there's always a reason that we come across a certain piece of information, because there's always activations that are waiting for us, that whether we say it's our soul or our guides or our extraterrestrial self is putting those, dangling the carrot in front of us, or putting the breadcrumbs in front of us. And the breadcrumbs can be a book, it can be a YouTube video, it could be me on this call. So I resonate 100% with your explanation of that, John.
All right, I appreciate that. Tara, it's good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
All right, send you love. Patricia Mimsy from Belgium, welcome. And again, I don't mean to be rude, y'all, but I want to get as many readings as we can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Patricia from Belgium.
Hi.
I stayed up
I
on
know, it's
classes
late
to
there.
see this. Yes, yes.
It's worth it,
3
right?
3 a.m.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I would like to know, I have a feeling I'm from another galaxy, but nobody can like see what.
Okay.
So I would like to know what kind of starseed I am. And also, I have totally forgotten why I came here. I can't remember. I can't remember my purpose.
Most people can't, so you're not alone in that. All right, let me see what I can pick up for you, Patricia in Belgium. Oh, Patricia. Yeah, way out somewhere. Way out somewhere.
I'm smiling because I love this.
Yes, I'm like, I immediately feel whether it's like close, like in the Milky Way. What I'm mumbling is way out there, because that's, so just give me a second. It's somewhere way out there.
And now I'm going to share my experience of why I'm here on Earth, or what I'm witnessing before we end the call. So y'all have to hang out for that. It was like,
So for Patricia, I'm getting the same feeling that I got with John. And again, it's only a handful of people over the years that I have this feeling with, but you go all the way back to being a galactic conscious, meaning really the essence of you is a galaxy. And it sounds too good to be true, too big to be true, but because why would you come from being an entire galaxy into just being a little human? It doesn't really make sense on this at first glance, right? But of course the purpose is, well, why not? I mean, you're already a galaxy, why not be anything? Why not be a human? Why not be an animal? Be whatever, just to experience it and to contribute, right? But no, I get the sense of you being a galaxy way, way out there. And there's, our scientists know that there's literally billions. So it's going to be impossible to, what I could try to do, like I did for John, remember I said, I believe your galaxy is in the Pisces part of the sky. I could try, it's easier if I'm looking at my star map, but I could try to, just pretend like it's in front of me here. And I could try to, I just got to see where, all right.
Patricia, welcome home. I love your welling up and that ease. And it's like, remembering, just the remembering, just the permission to remember that.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I knew this.
Did you really?
Yes, because there's no human on Earth who has ever looked into it, who can see it. And I knew, okay, it's something that we humans don't know. It's not mapped. It's very far where I come from.
It is very far away.
There is no name.
My sense, I have on my wall here, I have a map of the universe. It's just so cool. I just get a sense of, like, I'm looking down, like around where Ophiuchus is. And again, there's probably billions of galaxies just around that part of the sky where Ophiuchus is. But I just, my sense is, if you look to the Sagittarius part of the sky, kind of down there, Sagittarius Scorpio part of the sky, I think that's kind of where your galaxy is. Now, the other question was, what is your purpose? Why are you here? Let's see what I can just pick up briefly. And then you definitely, really, I really encourage you to do a Starseed session with me, because again, it's pretty rare from what I found in my work over the past decade to really actually be a galactic consciousness. And it's an incredible experience to take a regression and really, I'm sure you felt it on some level before, but to do the regression is incredible. But see what information I can pick up.
So as Matthew
Really
comes in
lonely.
for, yeah, well, and it doesn't have to be if you remember that you've been in other places as well. And so that's, again, that's why we're doing this, so that we can remember,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to be alone. Patricia, hey, love, I understand, but we've landed in other places in between. So when someone used to ask me, where are you from? Are you Pleiades? Are you Syrian? Are you this? It's like, yes, no. And I knew both were true. And here we are. Matthew, I interrupted. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. While you were talking, I was doing my best to multitask because
Yeah.
looking at the time. But there's just, I don't know. My vision is of her writing. I just feel like she's a scholar on some level, and she's a really deep thinker, like a philosopher. And she's really able to put together really deep, difficult concepts into literary or works of art, really that Mercury vibration. Patricia, I don't know if you're a writer, you've ever been a writer, or you've ever thought about just writing works that feel like they come from a place other than Earth, where you're kind of able to see the big picture of things. I think it's possible you could be a channeler if you wanted to be.
I know, I am.
You
But
are? Okay, well, there you
like-
go. Right? You're 10 steps ahead of me.
yeah, like I'm a healer as well. And
Yeah.
10 years ago, they asked me to write, they gave me teachings in intense suffering at
Whoa,
night
I was spot on then, huh?
to write a book about the soul and
Yeah.
how to mend the soul. Because
Oh, wow.
this is something I can do. I can see the things in the soul and to mend the soul.
That's great, Patricia.
Mend the soul.
Yeah, I recommend that you go deeper with Matthew, or
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
resonance with that. There's a
Okay.
lot there. I don't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah.
we can go so deeply into each one of these, and I want to get to some sessions, and this call is going so fast.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Patricia,
John. Thank
you're
you, John, for
welcome.
picking me.
Thank you, Patricia. John,
I
I
knew
will
I-
say
knew
there's
I
a
had
whole
to.
series of books she's supposed to write. A whole
Mm,
series.
I think
I
she
haven't
knows that.
started yet. I'm very
Yeah.
blocked. I haven't started, but I want to.
Now's the time. But let's do a session. We'll talk more.
Okay.
When you recognize within yourself and unlock that piece of it, it's like recovering a soul aspect. So if you've had soul loss and need soul retrieval, there's
I like
soul
that.
retrieval. Look, I'm getting the chills.
Yeah,
The soul
yeah, me too.
retrieval having from those galactic aspects that re-engage that action taking ability that got taken away from whatever trauma may have been experienced from whatever incarnation you were in anywhere. So having these sessions and the remembrance and the reintegration, the reassociation of those lost skills, the lost awarenesses coming back, it's like a soul retrieval that ignites this higher vibrational consciousness. That I believe is going to open up avenues for your creativity and how you want to express it. So I shared that for you and for everybody on this call, because
and
this
John,
is what
let me
happens with this.
say something for everyone. Those blocks, they can come from experiences in other planets and other places, or in past lives here on Earth, or in parallel lives here on Earth.
Right.
Wherever there are those blocks, there's some experience that somewhere in some time-space envelope, you had an experience that caused fear of going through with that. And then you just make up, your ego mind makes up excuses in this lifetime as to validate that fear. But it really, ultimately, it's about busting through it. It's helpful to know why, but ultimately you got to bust through it just with the will.
Well, and it's a soul association also. So the way that I work with soul loss, and I have to explain this to y'all, if you're a being of light and you're vibrating up here and you have a tragic event, that piece of light that can hold the resonance during that time will split off and it'll still hang out of here, but you diminish in light just a little bit. Like a little bit of your wattage gets dimmed. And so you can't vibrate to the point necessarily where that piece broke off, because again, you've fractured off. There's a fractal of you somewhere else.
Right.
when you have the soul recovery, that piece comes back, you vibrate back to that origin place. Again, going back to the galaxy, going back to origin. And so when you reassociate those, that action taking ability that's always lingering, but you're not meeting my wattage yet, or it's not safe to come back, or whatever it is, when it reassociates, that soul integration, you've reassociated with that aspect of you that you feel like you can kind of touch, but you can't quite just grab it, and you don't know why. And when you have these remembrances, when you have the alignment with it, when you do the work to overcome the limiting beliefs, and Matthew said, as you push through, which is what we're doing as humans, into that higher octave, our ability to access consciousness, to telepath with one another, to empath in the most powerful way, not in the diminished way, becomes exponential. And that's what's happening collectively here right now for so many of us.
Yeah.
So this is profound, Patricia. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah.
Thank you, Patricia.
Let's go into a special offer. We're going to take more calls afterwards. Y'all, the special offer, and it's just not the sessions. What Matthew is sharing through the modules, it's an activation into the remembrance and into the embodiment of those parts of you. So April, if you would put the link in the chat box, there it is. Y'all click on the link. It's in the chat box. If you can't find it, go to my website, beyondtheordinaryshow.com, then /Matthew28. It'll take you to that same page. And Matthew, we're going to kind of have to snappity poo through this tonight, but there's 3 offers. But this is amazing, y'all. Why don't you go ahead and guide us through what everybody's going to receive? And again, there's 3 special offers.
Right. So there's 3 tiers. Package A. So I am a spiritual teacher. That's like at the top of my bio. Matthew John is an internationally recognized spiritual teacher. I love teaching, and I teach so many different topics. And so not just the private sessions with me, but in these packages, you get my courses. And these courses, they're easy. They're between an hour and a half and 3 hours. You sit down, you watch them. Some of them are audios. Some contain activations. Some contain, exercises. Have a journal out, whatever. But you're going to learn so much. A lot of times people tell me they end up watching these courses 2 or 3 times because there's so much information. So in package A, you get 17 hours of my courses. Okay. And you can go to click that link because there's so many different courses, but you get things like, first of all, we're doing, whether you get package A, B, or C, we're actually going to do a live course together, a live webinar just for BTO viewers. Okay. No one else is allowed, just BTO viewers. That's going to be on the Lionsgate. So yeah, can you believe it? It's already summertime and we're already talking about the Lionsgate. But on
that's
Sunday,
crazy. Wow.
I know. Sunday, August 7th, we're doing a live class, activating your maximum financial abundance. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the inner blocks and we're going to locate, okay, where did these come from? Did these come from past lives? Did these come from childhood? Did these come from an extraterrestrial life? And we're going to work through to energetically as a group, bust through each of our inner blocks. And once we bust through those blocks, that's such a great way to open up that gateway, to open up the floodgates to financial abundance, which is really the focus of the course is financial abundance, but really in reality, abundance in all ways. So whether you get A, B, or C, you get that live call with me. Okay, but package A, you get things like mastering your intuition. You want to know how to open up and use all of your clairs better and or activate your clairs. Okay, you get my other webinar, you get the emotional freedom technique to heal the 7 main chakras. You get all about angels, archangels, ascended masters, and spirit guides, which is really cool because I will teach you how to actually connect with your specific spirit guides that are here written in contract to be with you in this lifetime. And also any guides, entities out there that you want to connect with. Powerful visualization techniques for ascension. There's a list of like 30 different techniques that I teach you in this course. Cool things like healing the chakras, manifesting, receiving direct guidance, changing or seeing soul contract. The human energy field 101, you want to learn about the structure of your energy field from your chakras to your nadis to your the 7 levels of your aura. Spiritual hygiene, port cutting, and grounding 101. You want to learn about all the different types of negative entities and discarnates and parasites that are in our fields. We're walking around, we don't even know they're there, and how to clear them. And also, more importantly, how to shield yourself so you don't get them in the first place. Dissolving the ego, one of my favorites. I offer 12 energetic activations to dissolve 12 negative aspects of ego that all of us carry within. This is so powerful, and it's even more powerful if you do it 2 or 3 times. Putting the past in the past, another very powerful webinar, and with energetic activations to clear out the emotional stuff that's still left in your field from negative events from the past. So all that 17 hours of my teachings plus the live class, only $97. There's those 2 payment options
awesome.
available. Okay, package B, you get all of that plus a Starseed discovery session. So it's a 90-minute session, and we are going to journey together. I'm going to put you under a very mild hypnosis. I do want to address one thing. A lot of people, they have a hesitancy to purchase regression sessions because they don't know if they can do it. They're thinking, I've never been hypnotized, or I've never done a regression before. What if I can't be regressed? So I will say, in the 10 years that I've been doing all sorts of different regressions, only a handful of people in the end could not be regressed. It is like less than 1%. And for those rare people, it would be people that cannot visualize at all. If your third eye is completely blocked and you cannot visualize anything, if I say visualize a boat or the color red and you can't visualize it, you may be one of those people. And if you're one of those people, we'll just do a reading instead. I'll read it for you. I'll travel there and see it for you. Very rare.
Also
if
important.
You can visualize, you can do it.
Yeah, also important to note, y'all, this is an audio, this is a phone call, not a Zoom call and video. So you'll be able to lay down,
You're
relax,
laying down, yep,
get into a place
eyes
where,
closed,
yeah,
which is great. It's like when I did a past life regression, for example, like 12 years ago, I had to go into an office, drive to an office, get myself relaxed enough to do it, make sure I had enough water and a banana. And this you get to do from the comfort of your home, from your couch or from your bed. And I find that to be actually more effective because people really relax. And you just have your headphones in and boom. I'm going to guide you to your home planet, and I'm going to give you an overview of where you're from. That's package B. We're only selling 35 of them. I actually saw in my email, we already sold a few before this call. These could be sold out tonight or by tomorrow. So get in fast if you want to get package B or C. Package C includes all of that plus a soul plan reading. So not only are we going to look into your starseed origins, we're going to look into past life stuff. We're going to look into your future here on Earth, different possible timelines. I'm going to look into your soul contracts. Okay. So you get 2 private sessions. We're actually going to group them all into one 2-hour private session with me. And you also get 8 other webinars with me. So it's 33 hours of content to do, courses to do on your own. You get intro to candle and moon magic. You get healing with colors. And healing with colors is great, especially if you're already a energy healer or a practitioner. You can learn how to incorporate color healing into your work. Or if you're not, you can do it for yourself. Change your reality by changing your words, how to move on completely from your ex. This one is actually so helpful for so many people because over the past 2 years, so many couples have separated, and there's a very divine purpose for that. So this really helps people to move on from the heartbreak and to understand what's in their soul contracts. Awakening the divine masculine, and this is for all genders. Creating the 5DU, and navigating the dark night of the soul, and a deeper level of forgiveness. You also get a guided meditation to meet your spirit guides and activate psychic gifts, and you get a bonus energetic activation called I Love You Regardless, a healing transmission. So 2 payment options on everything, right, John? And they are limited. I do limited availability. So 35 package B, 15 package C, and these could be gone by tomorrow. So
yeah, and I want to get into package A. Y'all, just the live call on the Lionsgate.
It's going to be awesome.
It'll pay for itself
on the
multiple
Lionsgate
times
Oh my
over
God.
because
yeah,
again, just activating your maximum financial abundance. And this is so important, not just because we're talking about money and the aspects of how important that is in our lives, but really what's clearing from that field, how we're stepping into a different way of activating your maximum financial abundance than you perhaps were aware of or taught before. This is taking it to a new iteration of what we're ascending to in this consciousness in relationship with flow.
Yeah.
This is huge. And that's just item 1. And you get into these other things, mastering your intuition.
You're going to learn so much from my courses. So yeah.
And again, the conversation about angels, archangels, ascended masters, and spirit guides in my session with Matthew, when I went back and I recounted a regression session that I had 5 years ago, it took me into the same place, and it was profound, and it came up again. And that one was so far out there. Y'all know I live on the left of woo woo. I like to call it that. I'm like woo beyond woo, woo cubed, but very grounded in it as well. And to have visions like that, but to have it come up again, it's just such amazing conversation that what the meaning of or interpretation of what angels, archangels, ascended masters, and spirit guides are, and perhaps a new way of relating or an ease of relating that can be born from this awareness is profound as well. So that's just package A. Again, package B, you get a session. Package C, you get a session if you sign up for that. At the very least, do the recordings. And again, the remembering is going to assist with the activation, the encodement that's taken place, and the integration of the soul recovery that's ready to come into wholeness.
And John, this is my first time on BTO, and it's been awesome. And we really wanted to do something special for it being my first time. These prices are way, way below retail from where you can find in my normal avenues. So take advantage of these.
Yeah, Matthew was generous with this. We talked about this, and it's like, I was like, no.
Yeah, I kind of took me a little bit to, but I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. My first time.
I pushed.
Opened myself up really to the community on BTO. So
I appreciate
take advantage of these.
Definitely. April's going to type the link in the chat box again, in case y'all, just to make it easy, so we can go ahead and move on. So y'all take advantage of that. All right, who am I going to next? There's so many Kates. Kate, I have to call on you.
More, right?
Yeah. Hi, Kate.
Hi, thank you so much, John.
Hi, Kate.
Matthew.
Hi.
I would love to know what you see for where I'm from.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Oh my God, Kate, you're awesome.
This is a quick one. I didn't even have to close my eyes. I immediately am seeing Pleiadian lives, but let me see if I see anything else. I'm seeing Lyran now too. You're going to be a multiple as well. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna say Andromedan would be the farthest back, and I'm actually seeing this is somewhat unique, not just multiple different places in the Milky Way, but actually some other galaxies as well. I've seen it before, but it's not that common. But actually from the Andromeda Galaxy, also going to some other neighboring galaxies as well. So you've been like everywhere. In this galaxy, as far as the star races we're aware of, definitely Pleiadian, definitely Lyran. See if I pick up Arcturian, yes, but it was almost like a very brief experience, like maybe one lifetime. See if I pick up anything else. I'm sure there's probably others. I think Orion, Orion's belt, they're definitely seemed like in a more peaceful time, actually, not during the Orion Wars for that one. Probably the closest connection you'll feel is Lyran, and then the second closest you'll feel is Pleiadian, I would say. So that divine feminine, both are very, the Pleiadian and Lyran vibrations are both very divine feminine. So art and music and sacred relationships and all things divine feminine.
I feel that strong in you, Kate.
Yeah, thank you.
Matthew's describing for sure. How's that feel? How's that feel to receive that?
Great. And I should tell you, the divine feminine part of my brain was like, well, I'm still getting used to that part. But the all over the place, this.
Yeah, and okay, so that, and I can feel that. Yeah. So that left brain part of you, the more masculine side, that more that Arcturian side.
Yeah.
It's a more logical, cerebral, kind of like a Virgoan sort of way of going about life. And then that Piscean, Taurus sort of conscious, which is more of like the Lyran and the Pisces is what's kind of opening up. You're someone that, by the way, in the soul plan readings, for people who get package C, if we have time, sometimes I'll look at people's natal charts too, because I love astrology. You're one person I'd be really interested to look into your natal chart too, to see how all these parts piece together.
You're totally right. It's the left brain, right brain,
Yeah.
talking to each other, Virgo rising.
That's what it is. That makes sense. And I love Virgo people. I'm a Virgo moon, so I just really connect well with Virgo people.
Love it.
And I already got package C, so thank you.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, I already
That's gonna be awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Kate, enjoy. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming on.
Thanks.
All right, wonderful. All right, let's go now to Jean. Jean, welcome to the call. And Jean, we can't hear you for some reason. Oh, there you are.
All right. Sorry about that.
Awesome.
How are you?
Hi.
Excellent. So the question,
right.
where are you from, right?
Yeah, sorry. Where
That's
am I
all right.
from?
Don't
Okay.
be sorry. Yeah.
Jean. All right. Let's tune into you. You're a unique one. I don't know if you feel like a unique one, but I don't see a lot of these. I immediately was shown actually a Zeta Reticuli starseed, and there's not a whole lot of them. Now, I just want to. Oh, I can hear myself. John, can you hear that? I hear myself when I'm talking.
I hear you double. So let's see. Jean, it may have
Maybe,
something to do with.
Can we mute Jean while I'm talking?
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
So Zeta Reticuli, there's misconceptions out on the internet that Zeta Reticulans are the same as the Greys. They are absolutely, unequivocally not the same as the Greys. They are two completely different species. They just happen to both have gray skin and have somewhat similar looking heads, but not really. And there's so many different types of Zeta Reticulan. We believe they're from the Alpha Centauri star system around there. But Zeta Reticulan starseeds, I don't know a whole lot about them. I don't know if I've ever had one, actually. You might be the first if you do a starseed session with me, which I hope you do. They're somewhat rare. I can't tell you a whole lot other than I believe that they may be very interested in earthy things like geology and discovering different climates. And like, you seem like someone just intuitively kind of streaming this, like you might be super interested to go to like a big canyon and just like look at, kind of marvel at the different colors of the rocks, as you know, the different layers of rocks, and be very interested in plants and things like that. Sciencey in a way, but more earthy sciencey. It's a different one. So that's what I pick up. And I wasn't expecting that because again, I don't think I've ever. One time, I'm thinking one client I had, but we went to a different place in the regression. So you would be the first if you do the starseed and we go to
Jean, go ahead and unmute.
Yes, that was awesome. Thank you very much.
Is that
how's that resonate for you? Because
It's I've had a couple of past life regressions, and it would always come through that I was a Syrian, and it just never it didn't feel right to
really.
me. So,
That's
yeah,
so
right. I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool when
you know
when you shared that.
A lot of people out there, you know, there's so many thousands of people that do this, you know, spiritual readings and things like that, and a lot of them don't always have an awareness of a lot of possibilities. They just know the Syrians, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Lyrans, so they kind of try to, you know, label everyone as one of those four, and usually they don't realize you can be multiple. The great thing about me is I've been studying this topic for so long, and it's been the main focus of my work for so long, that I'm aware of so many different others. And a lot of times, like what's cool, I have on my computer like 100 or 100 more, it's probably like 150, 200 pages now of notes from client sessions from these starseed discovery sessions. So I can go back and compare, like, okay, this person went to this blue avian planet. Oh, and this person went there, and these were the similarities, etc. So I kind of I look at this as like I'm studying it too. Like every time I'm doing one of these regressions, it's also like galactic research from my end. So I see more possibilities than a lot of times other people do.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
And thank you, Jean, for following your knowing, because again, there is type of this pigeonholing. And again, whenever I would get, whenever I'd get very well intended readings, like I'd hear resonance in different things that were being said. It's like, but
it's
like, okay, it's like, that was a good reading. And it's like, and there's something else.
Yeah.
And again, this awareness that, well, yeah, I came from there, but I was also in this other place and also in this other place. And, give yourself license to be from anywhere that your mind and that your intuition wants to take you.
Exactly.
Don't deny that part of yourself, because let it be the 4-year-old with the crayons who's
Oh, I love that.
thinking up
Yeah,
stuff
I
that,
love
and
that.
don't limit it, because who are you to be that, or you're not
Right.
that? Someone else told you this other thing, and that's the awakening that's happening. You're unshackling the veils of the density that's been placed upon us. And I say that with emphasis because you're the one that gets to lift it off. The people who put it on, or the energies that put it on, are not going to be quick to want to take it off, so don't expect them to.
Right.
You get to do it for yourself.
And everyone, and John, just remember, like, our scientists know that there's literally billions of galaxies. Like, we know that for sure. That number is so large, it's hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
And those are galaxies, and within those are millions or billions of stars and planets on each star, and there's astral realms, and really, and there could be multiple universes, and really, this whole experience of life is unlimited. It is unlimited.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are unlimited.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah, don't get pigeonholed. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jane. Y'all,
Thank you.
well, let's see. Patricia had a question. She says she's
Yeah.
not familiar, and she says, what package would you suggest her? Well, Patricia, I'd say sign up for either B or C, because you
Yeah.
get a private session.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
She want to know which one was best. It's that package C is amazing, because you get what's coming up in human form in that soul session, plus also this
Yeah.
reading as to where you're from.
Absolutely.
But again, we have the option for package B as well, and 101 in Matthew, and that should be profound as well. So again, take advantage of it. And the link for the special offer is going to be typed in here again. And if you just want a private reading, you can get that. But what we're offering here on BTO is less than the private readings by themselves.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah,
you're getting everything else. So
my prices are a lit's a little bit higher. So not just a little bit, they're a lot higher. So
it's a special offer
yeah,
on
it's a
Beyond the
special
Ordinary.
offer
Truly, that's what we have on here. So you can go to and sign up for that there. And Matthew will love it, because he's not splitting it with BTO as a contribution. But that's why we have these shows, so we can bring you this work. You can be introduced, and you can continue working with those speakers that really resonate with you, which is powerful. So again, the link is in the chat box. April's already typed it in. Matthew, wow.
time just like
Not just time, but in just a couple of minutes, if you can encapsulate where you see that we're going with all of this.
wow. Oh,
Where do you
like
see
as
our
a collective?
trajectory as an earthly collective, as
Oh,
the
yeah.
Gaiac
Oh my God.
collective?
Okay, I could talk for hours, but I'll distill
I
it
know.
in 2
That's
minutes.
why I asked for 2 minutes, because I know you
Yeah.
can just go.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, though.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, we are in a quickening, and just, if we look at the past couple years and all of the events, everything that's gone on the planet, it's been quite remarkable. And now we seem to be in a little bit of a softer place with all that, but who knows what could be coming. It's still going to be a tough road ahead for the larger collective. It's going to be a tough road, is what I see. This decade is going to be tough. There's going to be more kind of anvils thrown in the road, like the coyote trying to stop the roadrunner being the ascension process. But there are dark forces that are always going to try to stop it or slow it down in whatever way they can. And that's going to be kind of the theme for the rest of the decade. But if we look underneath the surface, we see really a logarithmic acceleration of consciousness on this planet. We can see the crumbs of the proof of that in the number of people being interested in shows like this, and the books that people have written that you have on, and the YouTube channels and mine and others, and just the growth of the interest in all of this stuff, and also the growth of interest in protecting Mother Earth, because we know that the planet is so toxic and polluted. and we need to put a stop to that or we have problems. So just the growth in awareness will continue to accelerate almost or actually logarithmically. And because of that, it's like it happens in the template first. This is, if we look under the surface of the five senses, we're living in a template, and we can look to things like astrology and numerology to kind of get a glimpse into, you know, what's planned in that template. But we're living in a template, and that growth, that acceleration, that exponential acceleration of consciousness will begin to more and more show up as physical manifestation in things like New Earth communities, like physical communities of light workers living together, producing their own energy, producing their own food, teaching their own children. Okay, things like New Earth technologies, scalar technologies, breaking through the suppression and becoming more available to people. Things like new medical technologies, breaking through the suppression, becoming more available. New energy healing technologies coming, a lot of them coming from channeled through humans from extraterrestrials. And I kind of see, I like to look at the future as this experience of Atlantis in the cities and Lemuria out in the countryside, where the cities like New York and Boston and Dallas will become more and more technological, which in a way is great. You'll have, you know, flying or hovercrafts or flying cars. No one drives anymore. You get in the car, it takes you where you need to go. You're there in 2 seconds. Eventually, even teleportation devices, things like that. Things like devices that we can actually probably put on our ears that are actually make us be able to be telepathic, right? Things like that. All this stuff is coming. Incredible technology. Robots doing so much work that humans used to do that humans didn't want to do. And of course, that comes with positives and negatives. And we're going to see, and that's what happened in Atlantis, the proliferation of technology like you wouldn't believe. Of course, it didn't end well. We got to change that timeline this time. We see that in the cities. Then in the countryside, we see more of the Lemurian growth of these New Earth communities that are growing their own food, teaching their own children, getting back to kind of the ancient spiritual arts and music and art and all that. And we kind of see this bit of a dichotomy, but that's really important because as a collective, we have to clear the negative karma that still exists from both of those civilizations. There's a lot of great stuff, but there's a lot of negative karma from those that we have to move through. And then eventually we merge those two back together into an integrated New Earth with both the Lemurian and the Atlantean consciousness.
I love that. Can y'all resonate, right? And Linda called me out because I was going to share my experience, and it ties into this. And then Matthew was really just key and regressing me and progressing me into why I'm here and where the earth was going and the purpose here. And I think some of y'all can resonate. And this speaks profoundly to our capacity to complete our mission here on earth. And again, this may surprise you, but I don't think it will. And so I saw the earth going to the brink, into the edge, the precipice, really of its destruction, right to the tippy edge, right to like the very edge of what's possible. That doesn't mean that's doom and gloom for everybody, but as a collective and a consciousness, we came here to experience density. And so we're going to experience it to its fullest as part of our soul mission. And I saw that wasn't going to happen, that the earth will not destroy itself.
You said that. Yeah. Now
it's
I'm
like,
tuning into
what we will not
Yeah.
get there. It will not implode on itself. Why? Because of love. What's my mission here? Not to save the earth, not to save the consciousness from itself, but my mission, coming from the place of the galactic, coming from the place of origin, which is where I really went, is so aware that the only thing that I have to do here is hold the vibrational tone of love. And that's the only beacon that's needed for us to come back to wholeness. Once our mission as a collective, incarnate as human beings, is complete and we're getting there. Does it mean that we're going to see desolation, that it's going to be the grim earth and only a few people are going to survive? I don't see it that way.
I don't think so. But
the consciousness,
I don't think we have not gotten to the brink yet. We're inching closer.
Exactly.
But it's going to get worse before it gets better from a collective standpoint.
And those of y'all who hold that love vibration is wondering what you're here to do and how you can manifest it. If you're directed in a particular way of sharing, of serving,
Yeah.
fantastic. But know that your emanation of love, that is what's holding it all together. There's no way that it's going to collapse. And you're the reminder of that. You're the emanation of that love. You're the emanation of that light. So,
and we need to remember, although we are still a relatively percentage-wise, a small number of conscious light workers, we carry a tremendous power, especially the more we band together energetically and meet in places like this, actually.
Yep.
You know, using that Aquarian technology to be able to be together, we amplify that. So we have more power than we think. And that's why it's often best to, it's not about, you know, pulling the wool over your own eyes and believing that things aren't what they are. Like, accept reality as it is, but at the same time, try not to pay too much attention to what's happening in the chess pieces of the world, because for millennia, the powers that be have been moving the chess pieces around and pulling puppet strings. Nothing is new there.
Well, and my suggestion is just remember it's love. It's love. And anything that chooses to diminish that, just choose to ignite it even more.
Yeah.
It's remembering. So if you get pulled in the direction where you want to go, that's just your call that it's time for you to amplify it to the next level that you can. So don't even see that as a negative. See it as, wow, I'm being called into my authority. I'm being called into my soul purpose. I'm being called to be the light that I'm claiming myself to be, that I didn't know that I could be, because now this force is causing me to mature in ways that I never thought that I could. So how wonderful. How wonderful. Oh my God. Matthew, as I sorry to interrupt. We're way over on tonight's call, but I promised I was going to share. We'll have Matthew back if he's willing to come back. And
I would love to. Absolutely. Thank you.
Y'all are so amazing. This has been so much fun. Go play with your galactic playmates.
Yes.
Ask them to come in your dreams. Ask your archangels to help.
Yes.
Do a meditation, you know, while you're gazing up at the stars, or whatever, to call that home back into you. And it's with that I bow to every one of you, and namaste. Matthew, it's awesome to have you on here. Have a great evening. Y'all take care.